Hello, and welcome to the 49th video in my Punishing Graven lore series. Today we will cover the 33rd chapter of the main story, Whither to Shine. Previously, Commandant escaped the Hetero Tower and followed instructions left by Nanami before she sailed into space. After using the simulation device to link his consciousness to hers, they traveled through possible futures, searching for a way to save what was left of humanity. At the end of their journey, they arrived on the DeLorean Discovery, crossing into the space beyond the gate, and met with the administrator Nanami. As a reward, that future Nanami gave them the blueprint to achieve their goals. Nanami learned the method to reach her desired future, and Commandant received the ability to analyze the Hetero Tower's core. Now Commandant carries the torch of civilization as humanity screams out against destiny. Facing utter annihilation, the human, the machine, and an unknowable power seek to change fate itself, carrying on the hope of a better future. Now without any further delay, Chapter 33, Whither to Shine. After receiving the Hetero Shard from Nanami, Rosa was able to decode enough of the tower's core to build new filters, allowing the settlement to survive a little while longer. But even this solution is temporary. The red tide is continuing to evolve, and unless these filters are improved, one day they too will fail. But their struggle extends far beyond just the tide. As of now, humanity's enemy is not just the punishing or hetero creatures, it's survival. Finding food, drinkable water, and supplies, the mountains they can't cross, the weather, and the entire frozen planet are barriers to their survival. While going through his list of daily tasks, Commandant meets with Emma near the water filter. She's been taking samples of their water supply, and she's found traces of contamination. Contamination means the red tide is beginning to impact the surrounding area, and that this location is no longer safe. With the addition of Rose's filters, they've slowly been moving residents to Aerospace City, since it's a more easily defensible location with better access to supplies. Emma leaves to report the situation to Vanessa, and those present spread the word to speed up the relocation, and standing amongst those residents is a mysterious pink-haired construct. Some time later on a routine mission, Commandant joins the scouting team to search for supplies. While exploring an abandoned town, the tide surges, knocking him unconscious, and he finds himself at the bottom of the ocean. In this dream, he sees himself in the deep blue cradle, fighting through Lithos' workshop. Just as fast as this dream appears, it vanishes, and he wakes up in the medical room, with Vanessa tending to his injuries. The two are reminded of what Lamia said all those years ago, about how she met another commandant under the ocean. But before they can figure out what it all means, Emma comes in with news of the tide's arrival. After hearing Emma's report, the two head to the watchtower to meet Discord, and she tells them how the tide is closing in at a frightening pace. In addition to the tide advancing, the current filters are not strong enough to repel the hetero creatures. To help Rosa develop new filters, they need someone to collect samples of the tide's latest mutation, and with Vanessa being the strongest construct available, she volunteers alongside Commandant. Roughly 20 minutes into the mission, the two are pinned down by hetero creatures, far stronger than they've ever seen before. The viral concentration rises as Vanessa's mind continues to deviate, and Commandant initiates a deep mind connection to keep her stable. Even though they manage to get the samples, Vanessa is badly injured, and Commandant's battlesuit can no longer protect him from the mutated virus. Before they escape, the red tide ripples, and chaos appears in front of them, but there's another figure overlapping hers. Commandant tries to pry for answers, but the only thing she can say is leave. Chaos's appearance is overtaken by the other figure, and the tide explodes into a massive wave. He and Vanessa try to brace themselves, when a single wing wraps around them. When Commandant opens his eyes, he finds himself in front of Shorthalt. As if stuck in his own body, he watches, observing the journey throughout the deep blue cradle and their eventual confrontation with Cthulhu. Seeing Shorthalt's death, Commandant is shocked awake, interrupting an argument between Vanessa and Luna. Luna tells them that Chaos's faded appearance earlier means they are out of time. The red tide was already dangerous before, and now it's reached another level. Chaos has nearly been absorbed. She is being devoured by the red tide, and Agent Zero will soon be reborn. During the conversation, the viral density begins to spike, signaling Agent Zero's arrival. Luna takes back the power she was using to protect the settlement, promising to buy Commandant and humanity a little extra time. Ignoring his protest, she forces both of them off the mountain and seals off the entire space. Luna's frame was forged within the Red Tide, and as such it contains a portion of its power. No matter how small that portion is, Agent Zero will not allow it to go unclaimed. It will take all the power it can get to challenge Chaos and erase her will from the Red Tide. Once Luna and this area are consumed, there will be nothing stopping Agent Zero from reaching humanity, and she refuses to lose anything else. She and the other Ascendants spent years running from the Red Tide. Due to the Tide's mutation, the information that made up the Ascension Network was replaced, and as Ascendants from the old world, they were also being rejected by this new filter. Roland's frame was rebuilt by the Merciful One and shared a slight connection with her. He left to seek her out, and just like Luna's vision, he died soon after the snow fell. After that, Lamia wanted to find a safe haven out at sea, but the ocean's mutation started first. It was even more dangerous than land. After a number of days, Luna could tell she had found something important, but it didn't matter. That connection was cut. The mermaid never made it back home. Due to her severed connection to the network, Alpha was immune to the Red Tide, but it also meant she couldn't use the virus to repair her frame. Still, she left to fight the hetero creatures and never returned, bringing Luna to where she is now. She has lost everything: her strength, her friends, and her family. At one point, she may have fought against humanity, but Earth is still her home, and she doesn't want to see it conquered by some inhuman monster, so she leaves the rest in Commandant's hands. Back at the camp, the evacuation is being sped up. They no longer have time to wait for transports, and everyone must leave now. Commandant can feel the shackle within Luna's mind fading. She won't last forever. As the residents make their way towards Aerospace City, there's a ringing in his ears, and the viral concentration drops. Luna has bought them time, giving humanity her first and last gift. The humans retreat across the snow, and for the first time, the forest goes silent. The residents leave the settlement and make their way towards the city, hoping to meet with Vanessa's group along the way. As they walk across the snow, Commandant tells Emma the reason behind their immediate evacuation. Agent Zero has awakened, and Luna sacrificed herself to give humanity one last chance of survival. As they walk, Commandant lights a flare, and the residents sing songs as they approach the city walls, trying to find some measure of hope amidst despair. After they arrive in the city, Commandant meets with Rosa. She's managed to unlock a bit more of the tower's core and improve their filters. However, she's realized this research is too costly for such marginal gains. She offers him a choice. They can continue researching the Red Tide in hopes of finding a solution, or they can pause their research and focus their efforts on building up the city as a refuge. Against Rosa's suggestion, he decides the Tide is far more valuable, and Vanessa, having joined their conversation, agrees. If they did give up on studying the Tide, what would come next? Humanity would dwindle, trapped within the city sealed off by Agent Zero. Without knowing the enemy they face, their resistance would amount to idle waiting, hoping their filters would continue to stave off the Tide, but eventually its mutation would exceed their improvement rate. After that, civilization would cease to have a tomorrow. That would be the end of humanity, in the Earth they called home. This is not the future they want for humanity. Even if it's only a thread, studying the Red Tide represents the possibility of survival. Commandant made a promise to keep moving forward, and he intends to keep that promise. No matter how slim the odds, humanity will continue to advance, struggle, and fight for their right to live. Somewhere outside the confines of time, Ishmael watches humanity's story play out. It has been over 2 years since the Graven Commandant left the Hetero Tower, and a month since the residents' relocation. Everything outside the city is at the mercy of the Red Tide, as it eats away at the planet. She watches their experiments, as they learn the Red Tide contains materials from civilizations not of Earth, and that these materials were pulled in through the Tide's connection with the Hetero Tower. Agent Zero has evolved beyond humanity's ability to handle, so she can't help but wonder, what will they do next? In the city, humanity's situation is only getting more dire. The tide is changing faster than their filters can improve. They are running out of complex materials for experimentation, and slowly the tide is surrounding the city, threatening to cut off access to the outside world, meaning no more supplies. If they fail to find an answer, soon Agent Zero won't even have to fight them directly. Humanity will tear itself apart from the inside. Commandant volunteers to join Vanessa to search for the ARU's last remaining warehouse, to find parts to help Rose's research, when his world suddenly goes dark. The following events are a blur as his memory struggles to keep up. While exploring, they were ambushed by Agent Zero, who was only stopped by the final shreds of Chaos's consciousness, but now their location had been exposed. They sped towards the warehouse, fighting off hetero creatures, but they did find the part Rosa needed, at least making the trip worth it. Now their challenge is making it back to the city alive. Due to the repeated battles, Vanessa's mind and body are both nearly broken, so she tells Commandant to leave her behind. Ignoring both her suggestion and her protests, Commandant ties her to his back, refusing to leave without her. He carries her from rooftop to rooftop, avoiding the hetero creatures gathered below. Thanks to him contacting Discord earlier, they managed to meet up halfway, when his exhaustion, along with his rising infection, finally caused him to black out. Once again, he finds himself underneath the ocean, journeying through Cathilla's cradle. His reappearance has added new variables to these events. He already knows how this dream ends, so he chooses a different path, encountering a strange pink-haired woman. Commandant is snapped awake, with the feeling of drowning lingering in his mind. These underwater visions are too real to simply be dreams, and that pink-haired woman feels just as recognizable. After he writes everything down, Emma steps into the tent. He asks about what happened after they met up, and more importantly, what happened to Vanessa. After he blacked out, Vanessa ordered everyone to return to the city. Their position had been exposed to Agent Zero, and there was no way it would allow them all to escape. Discord and Emma carried the two across the snow plains, but the tide was gaining ground far faster than they could move. Vanessa's frame was in critical condition, and with Commandant unconscious, her mind wouldn't hold up much longer. All her life, she's abided by the laws of conflict, minimize sacrifice, and maximize the value of life. As things stand now, Agent Zero will catch up and kill them all, so she ordered them to leave her behind. If they tried bringing both her and Commandant, they physically wouldn't make it back to the safe zone in time, and even if they did, her frame was far too damaged to be repaired. As reluctant as they were to follow that order, they knew she was right. After they left, she cleaned up her frame the best she could, and thought about the time she spent trapped in that basement with Commandant, but unlike then, she now finds herself utterly alone. The battlefield is not kind, and there's no such thing as a victory without cost. The red tide arrived along with Agent Zero, and with a smile on her face, she detonated her frame. After making it to the safe zone, Emma went back to the crater. Due to Vanessa's actions, the tide had retreated, and the only thing left was scorched rock and a dog tag with Scarab's emblem. Despite their differing philosophies, she was one of Commandant's oldest companions. She was there for the highs and lows of his life, and stood by his side when he was most vulnerable. Now another connection to his past has been severed, and he can't let that sacrifice be in vain. He forces himself out of bed as the rest of the camp gets ready to move. He salutes Vanessa's sacrifice. She spent 30 years carrying that torch, and she's more than earned a proper rest. As long as that spark of civilization exists, hope will endure, and they will continue fighting. Ishmael watches these events unfold from a nearby mountaintop. These actions have brought up long-forgotten memories of another civilization, one that had a very similar story, and a very similar ending. In the city, Rosa has completed the new filter, and for the time being, they don't need to worry about the virus, but the situation outside is still bleak. The virus has surrounded the outer edge of the filter's range, meaning no more supply runs, and morale is non-existent following the news of Vanessa's death. Many of them knew her their entire lives. She was a source of strength and perseverance in this harsh world, and her absence makes that world feel just a bit darker. While thinking, he and Emma hear gunfire from the outer ring of the city as Agent Zero begins its counterattack. Hetero creatures slam against the boundary formed by the filter as Agent Zero watches Commandant from below. The filter proves too much for even Agent Zero to handle, but eventually that filter will fail, and Agent Zero has more than enough patience to wait for that day to come. From the top of the mountain, Commandant stares at the red tide, realizing at this point Chaos must have lost all control. From outside the city, Ishmael watches the tide projections, and a book appears in her hands. With Chaos's will gone, Agent Zero will revert to a mindless beast, driven solely by the need to consume Earth's civilization and bring it beyond the gate. Unlike Cradle, there is no room to communicate with this Agent Zero, only the instinct to complete its mission, and Ishmael can't help but wonder to herself, is a miracle still possible? It's been over a month since Agent Zero surrounded the city, and the entire time its projections have been repeating the same message. If Commandant enters the red tide, it will leave Aerospace City. As the cornerstone of human civilization, Commandant's assimilation will make Agent Zero powerful beyond comprehension, but the people don't know that, nor do they understand why this one person is being protected. They just want to survive. Some of the more angry residents suggest taking a vote to force him into the tide, and after hearing this, Commandant remembers the fruit Chaos used to steal authority from Cradle. He wonders if he could do something similar and steal power from the newborn Agent Zero. He watches out the window as the sounds of the tide bring back memories of everything he's experienced. He sees the pink-haired woman from his dream. He remembers what he saw in the tower, the different worlds he saw with Nanami, and gradually those memories begin to piece themselves together. He walks outside and turns to the sky, speaking to whoever is out there listening. He yells that the filtering will fail, and they will never receive the answer they are looking for, because human civilization is unique, and they will never stop fighting. He takes out a mind stabilizer, originally meant to help him connect to more constructs, but now it's his best chance to challenge Agent Zero. He will become a cancer within the red tide, and as long as he persists, those higher beings will never see the filtering end, and Agent Zero will never complete its mission. With those final words, he steps onto the ledge, just like he's done so many times before, and jumps. Within the red tide, his body dissolves away, and he sees the shards of Chaos's consciousness. He tries to reach out, as somebody's voice rings in his ears. He opens his eyes, finding himself in a tent across from Ishmael, the one who saved him from his coma, and the same woman he saw beneath the ocean. She admits that she's also the merciful one, although her identity as an agent is a rumor that got too far out of hand. Another misunderstanding is his assumption that she is responsible for humanity's current situation. As she describes it, she's nothing more than a gatekeeper, a projection from a very distant place. Her sudden appearance has Commandant rightfully skeptical, as her true intentions are unclear. Why did she pick now to reveal herself? In reality, it's because he fulfilled the necessary conditions for their meeting, and she wanted to know why he picked this ending and chose to enter the red tide. It was incredibly risky to say the least, and there was no guarantee it would bring any favorable results, so she's curious why he did it. Instead of answering her question, Commandant focuses on the word ending. She exists in another dimension, and as such has a different perspective, witnessing possible outcomes for the future as different endings, some of which Commandant saw while traveling with Nanami. From what she has seen, humanity has reached its end. No matter what ending occurs, humanity never escapes this test unscathed, but humanity's test wasn't fair to begin with. She explains that Nemo and Dominic came from the same world, and in that world their test was the chaos contamination. That world failed their test, and when they fled they were careless, leaving behind a trail. Agent Zero followed that trail and arrived here, bringing the Hetero Tower far ahead of schedule. Dominic and Vonnegut tried to save this civilization they doomed, and both were unsuccessful. Now Agent Zero will swallow what's left of chaos, hatch and destroy the world, so she asks again, why did he make the choice to jump? The truth is he had no plan, but if he had the power to do something, he had the responsibility to try. In a way, he did make the right choice, since she can offer him another option, returning to the Hetero Tower. As the Gatekeeper, she has the right to let him enter the tower and take the trial. Long ago, she gave another construct the chance to pass the trial and receive new power, but she was refused. Now she offers that same choice to Commandant: enter the tower and take the trial, or return to Aerospace City. He asks what she wants in exchange, and for her it would be to confirm the possibility of a new ending. She has no reason to deceive him, so there's nothing to lose. It's either this, or gamble on a chance to steal Agent Zero's authority. Ishmael herself seems not to harbor much hostility, and whether he trusts her or not doesn't matter. The only truth he cares about is now he has a chance to fix everything. The trial is unknown. The powers he would gain are unknown. Even his chance at passing are unknown. But this Gatekeeper sees something that Commandant can't even see within himself, that he is far more capable than he knows. She waves her hand and a door appears. At best, he completely fixes the world, and at worst, the outcome is still death, so he might as well take the risk. The moment he enters the tower, information floods his mind, alongside rippling pain. He coughs blood from the surge in viral concentration as a pair of hands gently lift him up. Lucia's hands. For the briefest of moments, he saw her, but Ishmael makes it clear they are the only ones here. That was a projection, an imprint Lucia left in his mind. As she speaks, crystals emerge and cover Commandant's body, signaling the start of his trial. Alongside projections of Grey Raven, Commandant fights his way through the tower, across shifting planes and twisting corridors, arriving at a place where time and space lose meaning, and he faces the Observer, his final obstacle.
You are the second to set foot here, a visitor from human civilization. Let's see if you can make it to the end.
Moments blend together as time loses meaning. He fights for 1,000 years, or a single second. He falls before the Observer time and time again, as those bonds he's nurtured to lift him up, hundreds of times, thousands, as many as it takes, lighting his way forward. Against the endless and infinite, he who embodies humanity refuses to kneel. Those he loves have given him the strength and courage to fight every battle thus far, and this time is no different. He takes aim and pulls the trigger as the smell of gunpowder fills the air. Commandant's consciousness drowns in exhaustion as every possible emotion floods his mind. Finally, humanity, they, with bodies of flesh and blood, have reached this door. As the fog in front of Commandant fades away, the scars from infinite battles fade with it. He waves his hand, and the tower responds, shifting and changing according to his will. He tries to turn back time, but without the core, the tower struggles to carry out his orders. He intends to leave the tower and retrieve the core, but due to the tower's now unstable structure, he can't accurately predict what time he will arrive. He questions how Ishmael is able to travel time so freely, but she is not constrained by the hetero tower system and is above this limitation. Despite being able to navigate herself, she cannot guide him, and without the core or Agent Zero's authority, he cannot return to a previous lair. In essence, although he's gained this higher power, it's utterly useless. He can sense the bridge across dreams has been destroyed, and there's no way to reverse time. In a rage, he lashes out, and his power responds by attacking Ishmael. After calming himself down, he asks how any of this will help him save humanity. She tells him that despite how useless he feels, both passing the trial and obtaining this power were needed to reach his goal. She reminds him the tower isn't what's important, he is. If he had chosen to enter the Red Tide, he would have fused with Chaos's remains, successfully contesting Agent Zero for its authority, but that would not allow him to fix humanity's situation. The Red Tide and Agent Zero would go dormant, but the tide would not recede, and human civilization would stall. They would remain trapped in the city, living with the knowledge the tide could surge any day, with no hope of stopping it. In the end, merging would only guarantee destruction for humanity. Passing this trial was his only real option. She does take the chance to present some alternative solutions. By passing the trial, he has earned the qualifications to become an observer. Then he can recycle the hetero tower and truly gain Agent Zero's authority. Alternatively, she can teach him how to use the punishing virus to preserve humanity's data. Then he can keep human civilization stored away until he finds a way to revive it, but that is nearly identical to Agent Zero's plan. By her definition, she never once deceived him. As an ascended human who represents human civilization, Agent Zero will never consume him, meaning its mission will remain incomplete, and humanity will endure, even if humanity is just him. While he considers his options, Ishmael admits there's one other possibility. He could try to change the past, not through the tower, but through his own nature as a singularity. She takes out her book, and it's become noticeably thinner. After he and Lucia left the tower, previously blank pages became filled with text, and the final line tells him to return to the bottom of the ocean. This was the miracle that led her back to Earth, the hope paid for by everyone who struggled for humanity's survival. If he returns to the ocean, Cthulhu will birth a complete chaos, one capable of defeating Cradle and taking Agent Zero's authority. If this plan succeeds, there's a possibility he could pull the timeline back to before the tower emerged. As a new friend, Ishmael is highly opposed to this idea. It's well beyond risky, and the price won't be paid by Commandant alone. If he isn't careful, and he fails to become Chaos, his destiny will become a closed loop, and he will become the Commandant who died under the sea. She values him too much to recommend this path, and still wants him to join her as an observer. The tower begins to shift, and a door with the symbol of a white raven appears in front of them. She opens the door, revealing a strange alien world, and explains that this is what she meant by preserving civilization. Long ago, she sealed her civilization herself to prevent it from being harvested. Seeing this, Commandant is frozen between the risk and the possible reward, when Ishmael reminds him, no matter what choice he makes, humanity's situation could not be worse than it currently is. Humanity has been marked by the punishing, and even if he fails, destruction remains the worst outcome. The fact he has any choice at all is the fruit of humanity's labor. Before he makes a choice, he tells her that if anything happens to him, to take Rosa's research data to Nanami, that she would know exactly what to do with it. Commandant does consider her offer. He could become an observer and climb that ladder into the unknown. His consciousness would expand to cover every instance of humanity and every possible ending. He would learn the secrets of the universe and the higher level beings that make the laws of their world. He can see himself with this new power, converting all information on the planet into data and storing it out of sight so they don't notice. Eventually, he and Ishmael would leave to explore the infinite sea of time, waiting for the day they usurp enough power to rewrite their own laws. But that isn't what humanity sacrificed for. Whether society crumbles or stagnates, it makes no difference, so he's choosing the option that holds greater promise. Even if he might die, even if he has plunged into an endless loop, if humanity's end is predetermined, he might as well struggle no matter the odds. Knowing she won't change his mind, Ishmael agrees to help. He will return to the deep blue cradle, become Cathilla's egg, hatch as the true chaos, and defeat Cradle, giving him access to a functional hetero tower. Ishmael waves her staff, summoning another door. If this is truly his end, he is more than willing to pay with his life, so long as he can leave a new dawn for humanity. Once again, Commandant finds himself under the sea. He is tortured by Lithos, meets Shorthalt, fights alongside Noan, and ends up with Lamia, identical to what happened before. He asks what the day is, and she tells him March 31st. The floodgate within his mind opens, not with new memories flowing in, but old memories that have been unlocked. He remembers the Dark Star, the Hetero Tower, the Golden Age, and the plan he made with Ishmael. The Grey Raven Commandant must die at the bottom of the sea. That is the ending written by them, and with a simple trick, that ending remains the same. Ishmael traveled back in time, placing his consciousness within the empty clone, and sealed away his memories until this very moment, a deception so perfect it could even fool higher dimensional beings. That is the secret. There is only one Commandant. There was never any other. It's always been him, and him alone. Lamia cries over the abandoned Commandant, but in truth he wasn't abandoned. Help was never meant to come. This death is the intended outcome. As expected, the red liquid emerges, dragging him into the depths of the cradle. Commandant uses his awareness as an ascended consciousness to latch onto chaos, as her mind goes through the process of being shattered and reforged. Sometimes the memories show Grey Raven, or Shorthalt's days in the youth center, or even Noan's journey to find himself, along with many other minds and memories smashing together. As the process of fusion comes to a close, the egg is completed, and with it, the ending of the story has been quietly changed. Having pulled off a successful lie, Ishmael gets ready to play her part. April 1st, the day of Chaos's birth, and Vonnegut has yet to notice her consciousness has been replaced. After Lamia defeats the whale, Ishmael appears to witness the birth of Chaos. She wants to give the egg a name, and with a knowing smile, suggests calling the egg Commandant. In the following silence, the egg hatches, and Vonnegut finds himself in shock. Chaos is far more complete than he anticipated, but he can't decide if this is a blessing or a curse. With Chaos in such a complete state, he doesn't need to wait to enter the tower. Having ensured Chaos's birth, Ishmael takes her leave, and Lithos enters soon after, surprised at Chaos's current state. Just like Ishmael said, due to Commandant's consciousness existing in a higher place, Vonnegut cannot fully control Chaos. He tries to probe for information, but the girl remains silent. While he finds the whole situation unnerving, he's out of time, and continues with the next phase of his plan. With the aid of the Hetero Tower, and the voices of his loved ones calling out to him, Commandant is able to drag himself from the depths of Chaos's mind. He attaches himself to the surface, and finds Chaos dragging the unconscious agent up a flight of stairs. The path behind them begins to collapse, and they rush into a nearby door, marked with a symbol he's seen before, a four-winged white raven. Inside the city, they find traces of what appears to be the Red Tide, but it contains information vastly different from the kind on Earth. Chaos and Vonnegut explore the city, fighting off the hetero creatures who followed them from within the tower.
City of an alien civilization. Quite an unexpected discovery. Huh? Wait. The world is turning. It seems the owner of this space doesn't welcome us. Let's leave as soon as possible.
Having exposed this space to hetero creatures, the two are swiftly removed. The now lucid Vonnegut questions Chaos about how they got here, but receives little in response. He decides to carve a path with force when Ishmael arrives to stop any unwanted destruction. Shortly after arriving in the tower, Chaos lost control, and by the time he woke up, they were already inside that alien space. Trying to hide a smile, Ishmael summons her staff and creates an exit, gesturing for the two to follow. They arrive in an area more familiar, and Vonnegut asks about Cradle's whereabouts. Ishmael tells him she's still around, spreading the tide and harvesting civilization like normal. Hearing this, he can't help but remember when he first started cultivating the red tide. He never assumed it would share similarities to the Chaos contamination, or that it would enable Agent Zero's resurrection and the appearance of the tower. Ishmael says it wasn't just technology that was brought back from the future. The problems of that era came with it, reminding him of the mistake he and Dominic made when coming to this world. While they talk, Vonnegut feels his control of the tower slipping, as the entire structure trembles, welcoming home its original master. Cradle makes her way to the core area, where she is confronted by Vonnegut. Chaos's consciousness is stable enough to handle Agent Zero's will, so there's no need to waste time stalling. Together, the two hunt Cradle throughout the tower, and without regaining sufficient authority, she's forced to retreat. While escaping, she finds a crack in the tower, using it to summon the red tide. Alerted to the tide's arrival, Vonnegut catches up and attacks Cradle. Chaos lands a blow, but loses an arm in the exchange. Cradle's control of Agent Zero's authority and her strength are both determined by the amount of memory she regains, and due to Commander's actions, Chaos contains the memory of everything he's seen. The moment Chaos's arm lands in the tide, Cradle receives the memories within her. She sees Dominic, her defeat at the hands of the Vanguard team, Nemo and his mission, the Chaos contamination, and her original identity. In a single moment, all of the information Commandant learned inside the tower flows into Cradle, bringing back her memory, and with it, her strength. In an instant, the hunters become the hunted, and unable to handle Cradle, Vonnegut throws everyone out of the tower. Having absorbed some of Agent Zero's authority during the fight, Chaos can synchronize her memories across time, and sees that this ending is different from before. Unlike his typical careful self, Vonnegut challenged Cradle directly, and was overwhelmed by her speed of recovery. He creates a fruit from Chaos's consciousness, noting that she's received similar damage before, but has no time to pry further, as a rift opens and drags them back to the core. Even with both him and Chaos, Cradle remains too powerful. She jumps at the core, and Chaos jumps after her. Cradle bites into Chaos's neck, trying to take back her authority, and Chaos implants the fruit within Cradle's body. If Cradle tries to absorb Chaos now, she isn't guaranteed to win. Chaos could easily turn the tide and steal her seat as Agent Zero. Changing her strategy, Cradle breaks for the core, smashing into Vonnegut's shield. She slips past his defense when a white light blinds everyone, almost disconnecting Commandant's consciousness from Chaos. During the flash, Vonnegut opened a rift to the fog and trapped Cradle within it. Speaking through Chaos, Commandant tells Vonnegut the fog will not hold Cradle, and with that, the agent's suspicions have been confirmed. Now he knows Commandant has been watching from within Chaos. Knowing that Commandant must have returned from a previous lair, the Nemo within Vonnegut emerges. He takes out a golden cube, his own key, and gives it to Chaos. All of the Vanguard members sacrifice themselves for a chance at hope, and in the end he will walk down that same path. He will hold Cradle off, allowing Chaos to seize the core, kill Cradle, and steal Agent Zero's authority. After she does, the rift behind the core will need to be sealed, preventing the Chaos contamination from flooding into the world. This is the only way to prevent the tower's collapse. Red spikes emerge from the fog, breaching Vonnegut's shield as Chaos hides away in the tide. Vonnegut falls to the ground, and Chaos steps out of the rift. She makes her way to the core, and with it she will have the ability to remove Chaos's influence from the red tide and purge the personality implanted by Dominic. While her attention is drawn to the thoughts in her mind, she fails to notice Vonnegut, as golden crystals extend from his body towards the core, and it welcomes the final member of the Vanguard team. His body erupts in golden light as the core accepts his sacrifice, and the blue light intensifies, threatening to swallow Cradle. Before she can react, Chaos jumps from the tide, thrusting the key into the core. Cradle tries to escape into the red tide, but Chaos has deployed a force field around them, leaving them both exposed to the core's light. Trapped within the force field, Cradle fails to detonate herself and dissolves into the core. The force field Vonnegut left behind expands to cover the rift, holding back the Chaos contamination, as Chaos takes the core and submerges herself into the tide. As time passes, the force field thins, and Chaos rises from the tide, her authority over the Hetero Tower now unchallenged. Having obtained Agent Zero's complete authority, Commandant's consciousness can truly synchronize with Chaos, and Ishmael appears to congratulate this newborn deity. She attempts to use her control over the tower to halt its growth and set everything right, but the tower offers little response. Suddenly, information floods her mind. Due to Vonnegut and Cradle's reckless fighting, the amount of information within the tower has grown exponentially. Their repeated looping through time has caused the tower to sprout more futures and grow beyond control, and with the foundation of her power still unstable, she can't do anything to stop it. The past and future will continue to stack without limit, and any attempt to fix the problem will collapse the tower, destroying any possibility of humanity's survival. Even after everything they have done, they can't escape the hands of fate. But this is not the ending she fought for. Power swells within her, and the red tide dries up as the information within is absorbed by Chaos. If she cannot turn back time through the Hetero Tower, she will prune the incorrect futures and absorb the information of every additional timeline, dismantling an infinite number of layers that shouldn't exist. Even to a being like Ishmael, this idea is incomprehensible. Even Chaos, with the authority of Agent Zero, and a consciousness rivaling that of an observer, would lose herself from the access information, but she has come too far, lost too much to give up. This world contains her memories, her emotions, her bonds, and the promise she made to fix it all. Coils of red light race from the tower, through the past and future, to reshape all of human existence. The cries of countless timelines enter her mind, their fury, sorrow, joy, despair, and hope. All of the information collected by the Hetero Tower, the screams of an entire civilization. On the verge of total madness, Chaos rampages through the tower, arriving in front of a door bearing a familiar symbol. She touches the white door, and a buzzing from deep within tells her to walk through. Within this graveyard, Ishmael watches over her city when she feels she isn't alone. She acknowledges the presence of life and is disgusted to find hetero creatures. She draws her staff and descends to purify her home. When Chaos regains consciousness, there is a book in her hands, engraved with a four-winged white raven. All this time, Ishmael has been reading the stories of others. Now this lonely human will bear witness to her past, and how she became the last of her people. Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, in a civilization advanced enough to harness the energy of stars and warp space itself. After conquering nearly every realm of science available, they turn their attention to mastering time itself. Here, Ishmael works as a researcher for her university and meets with an old friend named Etha. Recently, their department built a machine capable of receiving information from the past and future, and very recently this machine received a message: heat death. For many, the idea of heat death is nearly unimaginable, a disaster in the far too distant future. Rahele, Ishmael's professor, has verified the possibility of time travel, and to accelerate her research, she will be the first volunteer to travel to the future. She will send information back to help Ishmael calibrate the Cosmos Regression Model, a machine to predict the eventual heat death of the universe, and hopefully find a solution to stop it. 3 days later, Rahele set out for the future, leaving her current projects in the hands of Ishmael and another instructor named Ta. Soon after, everything returns to normal, and Ishmael receives data from the future, using it to speed up calibration of the regression model. One day, Etha tells her of another message they flagged. Ishmael, the heat death hypothesis has become reality. The message was flagged as someone's prank, since even the name was misspelled. But according to Ishmael, her professor is the only person to ever misspell her name in that way. In the coming days, more messages from her professor came through, followed by her terminal's abrupt disconnection, forcing them to acknowledge the heat death hypothesis had become reality. The scholars of that world came together to discuss the problem, when Ishmael revealed the completed regression model, and according to its prediction, they have only 10 years until heat death. After seeing these results, she sent volunteers to the future, but out of everyone sent past the 10-year mark, not a single one returned, confirming the end of their world. She tells them that before her disappearance, her professor theorized the existence of a material capable of storing matter as information, and that such a material would be capable of storing their entire civilization. Following this revelation, a new department was founded to continue this research. In the face of utter extinction, they burned through galaxies worth of energy to continue their research, and after years of searching, Ishmael's experiment bears fruit. Following the discovery, the Institute announces their findings throughout the galaxy, dubbing this material Substance Zero. Whatever Substance Zero is, it has no pattern Ishmael can recognize or sequence she can follow. Yet for everyone else it doesn't matter. This is the hope they were waiting for. Skeptical of Substance Zero, Ishmael slowly retreats from experiments surrounding its properties and returns to working on the time travel terminal. Over time, the Institute learns this material can store biological life as data, removing the need for a physical body and allowing them to exist as projections of information. With 3 years remaining until heat death, the Institute declares this is the solution to their problems and orders a mass migration of all life forms to enter Substance Zero. Ishmael tries to convince anyone else that Substance Zero isn't the answer, but with the alternative being extinction, her warnings fall on deaf ears. Her classmates, friends, family, and Etha are all merged with Substance Zero. Soon, a fifth of all life in the galaxy is converted, while Ishmael tries and fails to find the logic behind its properties. Over time, Substance Zero's growth exceeds containment, and it begins to evolve on its own. Soon, these changes turn lethal, as it develops the ability to corrode matter, and eventually birth its own form of twisted life. After that day, those who entered Substance Zero went dormant, and were never heard from again. The research director was arrested for his support of Substance Zero, and Ta was tasked with finding a solution to the problem. When those who entered Substance Zero went silent, a singular massive will emerged, and Ta named this will the Punisher. As intended, the heat death didn't arrive, but now their civilization was threatened by something far worse. Within the tower, Chaos carefully reads through the pages of Ishmael's life. Substance Zero was their punishing virus, and the Punisher was their Agent Zero. Even for a civilization as advanced as the White Raven, their fate was to be filtered. Over her many years as an observer, Ishmael noticed that just like Substance Zero, the filtering has no set rules, it's chaotic. Since her civilization was destined to be harvested, Chaos asks how she is here. Why was she not taken beyond the gate? Ishmael turns the page of the book to a time when the Punisher took on a physical form. Under Ta's leadership, they created Shrike, an organization to fight the Punisher, by changing the past to avoid the future. Ishmael registered as the 367th time traveler, and during her journey she learned her professor sent additional warnings, but they were restricted by the universe's rules. The girl named Ishmael survived thousands of loops trying to save her world. Before Substance Zero consumed everything, she stole the Punisher's authority, sealed away what remained of her civilization, and now lives as a gatekeeper chosen by higher wills. Substance Zero, the punishing virus, and heat death are nothing but tools for them to find beings worthy of advancing. Ishmael placed this projection of herself here on Earth for simple entertainment, but now she believes this human has the potential to join her. The forest of the universe is dark, and having allies would benefit both parties, but Chaos made her decision long ago. She has no intention of abandoning humanity. Threads of time wrap around the planet, each one a different future to be eliminated. Ishmael summons her staff. There is no need to watch any longer. She has seen this ending. The moment before she leaves, a number of threads disappear from Chaos's body. Only a few, but as someone who's watched human civilization for so long, this change does not go unnoticed. Flipping through her book, she sees pages disappearing. Ishmael creates another portal, arriving on the DeLorean Discovery to speak with Nanami. She hands over the research data from Aerospace City, offering Nanami a status update on Commandant's plan. But she doesn't need one. Nanami can feel the information within the Hetero Tower decreasing. After her many simulations, Nanami realized the source of human civilization's end is the Hetero Tower, so if she removes the tower, humanity should survive. On one side of the tower, Nanami converges the deviating timelines, helping remove excess data. On the other, Commandant as Chaos absorbs that data, weaving it into a singular proper timeline. Taking a look at Nanami's heavily damaged frame, Ishmael can't help but ask why she would go this far. And no matter the timeline, no matter the future, the answer will always be because she loves humans. In her long life, Ishmael has forgotten most sensations, and the idea of loving something has all but faded. Nanami gets back to work, and Ishmael slips back into another rift, appearing in her observation room. Every step of the way, Commandant has avoided predetermined endings. He chose to continue researching the Red Tide, chose to re-enter the Hetero Tower, and chose not to become an observer. She sits at her desk, while strands of red light flow from her book. After everything she's done, she can't help but wonder, will it be worth it to get involved further? What price would she pay to see a different outcome? And does she have the resolve to pay that price? She takes out a pair of wooden dice and lets chance decide her next move. Holding the planet in her arms, Chaos teeters on the brink of insanity as her mind is fractured and reshaped every passing moment. Before that sanity runs out, a faint voice echoes in her mind. She pauses, just for a second, trying to trace back that voice, but the only presence here is herself. Before she resumes her labor, Ishmael rushes from a nearby rift and is shocked to find Chaos still sane. In the ending she witnessed, Chaos would succumb to the voices in her mind and continue her absorption without rest. As a single being, she could never hope to contain so much information, and on the verge of success it would spill from her body, destroying the Earth. In her grief, Chaos would have destroyed herself, and with Commandant's mind beacon gone, Nanami would lose her anchor, dooming the machines to wander space for eternity. That is the ending that should have been humanity's annihilation, yet Chaos is alive. Ishmael checks her book, and a new page has appeared, covered in golden text, a brand new ending. She thought her long life had eroded all of her emotions, but in this moment she feels genuine sorrow. Death wasn't predestined. There were other choices besides preserving her civilization. No matter how unlikely it was to reach, a correct path did exist. Chaos, Nanami, and everyone else on Earth, their wills worked together to bring about this miracle. Nearly all of the incorrect time within the tower has been absorbed. Nanami is converging the remaining timelines, and Chaos is on the verge of madness, well beyond salvation. Out of respect for human civilization, and as thanks for showing her a brand new future, Ishmael takes the final step herself. Due to all of the information within Chaos, she was on the verge of insanity, and saving her was impossible. The only mercy she could give was killing Chaos before she lost control, and preventing the tower's information from leaking back into the world. Her intervention went against the rules, and she will pay a heavy price, but human civilization has proved its worth. They are deserving of another chance to reach that future. Out in deep space, Ishmael meets with Nanami following the success of their plan. As the timeline is now, they can't change established history without being caught, so they won't change anything. Just like Commandant's death in the Deep Blue Cradle, they will follow the flow of history. Chica will go to Copperfield Aquarium in Bianca's stead, and this time Nanami will swap the original shard, sending the one she received from Ishmael. She gives the shard a familiar password, Q31206, and sends it to the past, a brand new gift from a brand new future. Commandant opens his eyes, finding himself on Babylonia as hazy memories flash to his mind. He feels as though he's been through a lifetime's worth of pain and hardship when Hassan's voice cuts through the confusion. Before his mind can react, his body rushes to the lounge. He opens the door, and there sits Grey Raven. Their warmth chases away that feeling of dread, and that subtle pain is replaced with relief. No one will remember the pain they endured for this moment, or the sacrifices made for this miracle. His long night had passed, and the light of a new day had finally come. Somewhere in Babylonia, a pink-haired construct admires the results of a very long journey. Agent Zero was killed by Chaos, with her existence banished to a place beyond time, and all traces of Vonnegut's entry into the world were erased from history. The Hetero Tower will not appear until humanity reaches the appropriate level of advancement, and the timeline has been pieced together, creating a singular path to humanity's future. Although she paid a great price, she doesn't regret it. She is eager to witness the future of this civilization, and when they do reach that point, what choice will humanity make? Whenever Lucia finds herself alone, she writes down her thoughts. She writes about the day Commandant rushed into the lounge, how she tried to pry into what was happening, and how he brushed it off, chalking it up to some nightmare. She also writes about herself, how she also dreams about strange events, glimpses into her time in the tower, a frame that doesn't yet exist, or a final goodbye. As time passes, these memories continue to fade, and they agree to consider them nothing more than a series of bad dreams. Commandant knocks on the door, reminding her of their next mission. It's for the best that those painful memories stay out of reach. The past is the past, and they have a long road ahead to greet their new future. Alright, and that wraps up the little mini arc we had going on. Alright, so I got some bad news and some good news. So the bad news is, it took me until today to get the video out. But the good news, it could have been tomorrow. It could have been next week. But you got it today. Pat on the back. Good job, me. Out of the three in like this mini arc we had going on, it might be the bottom for me. It might be the bottom of those. It definitely it goes Shapers to the Galaxies, Wither to Shine. I'll explain more about that later. There's also a couple of concepts that may or may not be confusing, like the clone mandant stuff. Now, the clone is still a clone, okay? It's just that we learned that the consciousness that was inside the clone at one point was the original, because there's only ever been the original. There was never a different one. It's always just been like the one commandant. That's gonna take a second to explain. And then at the end of the chapter, you play as the boss, right? Because that's essentially what's happening. Like, from Chaos's perspective, Ishmael's the boss. But yeah, we finished the arc, the entire arc, and now we get to move on to the tree thing that's happening. Ooh, you know what would be a good idea? Now that we've hit this point, do like a Q&A. Do I have enough people for a Q&A? I don't know. But yeah, like a Q&A session, right? So if there's any topics in the story that might still be confusing, I can take like a little time to answer those like really quickly. Or, questions about videos or anything, I guess. And then maybe I can turn those into shorts too. I can start making shorts. I'm gonna step all over K2's toes. He's gonna hate that. But yeah, I think that's mostly it. I thank you guys for being patient, sticking with me all this time. Really, really appreciate it. But now, we get to move on to the next arc. This is gonna be exciting. Oh, and of course, expanded stuff in the video that comes out, alongside this one. Where I'm also going to have to go over, like, all the time travel stuff. Because I'll be honest with you, if that melts your brain, not your fault. It is not your fault. It is totally understandable if it doesn't make any sense. I was definitely having a tough time trying to find a way to get all that information out without it just being like word vomit. But yeah, all that explanation is over there. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next video, where we cover Chapter 10 of the Floating Record Stories, Deceiver's Rapture.